Microsoft has a Surface Pen you can't buy, and Lenovo's got an interesting take on a two-in-one laptop design. Let's do this. What's up everybody, Brad here. And Microsoft is in London this week, and they've got some interesting announcements. They're focused on the education segment because the reason they're in London is for the world's largest educator conference. And so every year this happens, and think of it kind of like CES, but for educators. But this year, Microsoft is actually announcing some new hardware. Specifically, it's a peripheral for this guy, the Surface Go, and it's a pen, and they're calling it the Microsoft Classroom Pen, and you can't buy one. Microsoft is only selling these in packs of 20 for $800 or about $40 a piece, and they have no plans as of right now to be selling these to the consumer directly, which is a major kind of disappointment for me, especially because I have a small child. Now here's the deal. These things are a little bit more ruggedized, if you will. They've got a harder tip, and they've got some tethering capabilities like physical tethers so you can tie them to the machines and not lose them. But the idea here, I think, is that this is a less capable stylus than you would get with, say, the Surface Pro or the Surface Book or anything like that. I'm guessing because it has a harder tip, it's going to have less sensitivity, like the pressure sensitivity. The current stylus supports 1,024 points of sensitivity. I bet these things are way less, which is perfectly fine for the education market. These are kids, which is kind of why I'm upset that I can't buy one, because I have a daughter who's 5, and it would be great to give her a $40 pen rather than the $100 option and let her just go to town on the Surface Go. But here we are. Microsoft isn't going to let us buy it yet. So we will wait and see if they change their mind on that, if we can convince them to sell it through the Surface, through the Microsoft Store. Now, the other reason is, why aren't they calling this just a Surface Classroom Pen? I think Microsoft is trying to differentiate the branding here. And typically Surface is more of a premium product. And so by offloading it to the education segment, they maybe are trying to say, hey, look, Microsoft is here. This is our product. This is that brand. It's not as high quality as the Surface. And they're trying to, keep that boundary. And so the other thing that is interestingly being announced is actually coming from Lenovo. Now, Microsoft and its partners are like Acer, Lenovo, and a couple others are announcing a bunch of these low-end laptops. They say they're going to start at $189 while supplies last, but they're typically going to be around $300. And they are education-defined products. And the interesting one is the Lenovo 300E. It's a two-in-one design, but Microsoft, Lenovo says that you can use a number 2 pencil on the display. So if you lose the stylus, which has a garage on that device, interestingly enough, you can just grab a number 2 pencil, which every kid is going to have, and just write on the screen. Who cares? And now, as long as the screen holds up to that graphite, like poking into the display, that is really cool, actually. And that's going to be a big change, or a big feature differentiator for teachers, because they're always going to be looking for those pens. We know kids, we know they lose things, and so if they can just say, hey, just grab your pencil and use that instead, it'll be fine. That's pretty cool, actually. And so I'll be curious to see how that plays out in the real world. Now, the other things we don't know, so products around $300. These are definitely going head to head with Chromebooks, and we all know that Windows 10 isn't quite as good as Chrome OS, because in the education segment, because Chrome OS, you slam the lid shut, you reopen it, new instance, things just kind of work. Windows 10 isn't quite that good. Now granted, Windows 10 has a lot more functionality, and you can do a lot more things and have a lot better fine-grained control, but some people just don't need that, and Chromebooks have certainly made their way in. Which makes me wonder if these new devices, which they aren't announcing release dates, might be running potentially Windows Lite. I'm not sure. This is more speculation than anything else. So if you're not familiar with what Windows Lite is, this is Microsoft's upcoming Chromebook OS competitor. I think we might see it at Build, potentially. And so the timing isn't too far off. Build is in early May. Granted, these things are for the education market, which probably means they aren't going to be shipping until maybe this summer, because teachers, I shouldn't say full stop, but teachers and schools typically don't buy new hardware until the summer, get it ready for the new kiddos when they come back. So that is what Microsoft is announcing today in London. I'm going to try to get my hands on one of these pens. No promises, because I'm not going to spend $800 to order 20 of them, but I'll see if I can convince Microsoft to send me one. And then if we can, then we'll dive into the true nitty-gritty differences. But yeah, so that's the new Microsoft Surface Pen that you can't buy. That's all for now, folks.